Good afternoon, everybody. You had me in the first session, you know, like responses. Good afternoon, everybody. Wonderful. So welcome to your session with Davina Merchant and Emma Stakes, who are A&R experts, and they're going to be talking to us about all their experience. To quote the Industry Week website, it says they've got advice for days. So I'm really looking forward to this session, and hope you are too. They're going to be interviewed by Lou Barnell. And we'd love for you to share your Industry Week experience with us by sharing various posts on your social medias. And so if you use the Industry Week hashtag, which is IW23, you could be in with a chance of winning some cash prizes. Please don't forget that you can still book up for the upcoming events on the Industry Week website, iw.confetti.ac.uk. Make sure that you use your Confetti email address or your NTU address for that one. And as I mentioned earlier, you can also see some of the previous talks on the on-demand section of the Industry Week website. In terms of if there's an emergency, please make your way to the nearest fire exit. In this case, you need to make your way up the ramp to Brook Street and then make your way to the right of the building. So without further delay, I'm going to hand you over to Lou, to Davina, and to Emma. Can we give them a hand, please? Woo.
All right, welcome, Industry Week, Day 3, Wednesday. Welcome to you both. What an amazing treat to have you here. And isn't it International Women's Day today? Big up, yes, people. Yes. Although every day is a Women's Day, but yes, today is extra special because we've got these two amazing people, Emma Stakes and Davina Merchant, joining us. Without further ado, we're going to look at one of your more recent artists, Davina, Tion Wayne, just a clip of one of his videos before we kick off with an intro.
Yo. English girl named Fiona.
Big bad gal named Abiola.
Body yoddy shaped like cola.
Back up, bring it to the owner.
I'm still up on the roads, could I left. Still chatting to my bros on the tech. Fuck that, man, I don't give a F. What you wanna get, smoke cigarette?
English girl named Fiona. African girl Adiola. Body yoddy shaped like cola. Back up, here come closer. Vida loca. Bullet. High as a cat, never sober. Python, hit him with a cobra. Free up my bro Casanova. Bad man persona. Bad man alone can control her. Sorry, your sis got bent over. Pushing my hood tech anaconda. Throw back like Ed Hardy. Stay fly, I'm high like Jeff Hardy. Wet like the tsunami. Big rush, fuck up that punani. Pum, turn up, I hit that. Fuck the...
See everyone having a little rave at the front here. I quite enjoyed this situation. That was good. So I'm going to just do a quick intro on you both, just so everyone's got some backgrounds on what you've been up to. So Davina Merchant, you started your career as an enthusiastic entertainment journalist. Davina was passionate about breaking more stories to champion those behind the music. Her exceptional ambition meant that pursuing a career in the music industry allowed her to facilitate her passion and to build a thriving career in the music industry. Kickstarting her career in management, Davina went on to work with label services before joining Downtown Music Publishing's London office at the top of 2018. She's gone on to earn an impressive reputation as a forward-thinking exec with signings that include Tiana Major 9, May Muller, Tion Wayne, Hamza, Giggs, Jules, Jazz Caris, to name a few. And Emma has established herself as a leading force in the music industry. With her songwriting skills, Emma secured publishing and record deals with successful companies such as Phrase Differently, Sony ATV, and NHM. Among her many achievements, she has held prestigious positions such as music publisher with Cobalt, managing and marketing a roster of renowned singers and influencers, serving as A&R at Psycho Entertainment and Sony, heading up on-screen talent for hit TV shows such as The X Factor, Britain's Got Talent, and America's Got Talent, and serving as an A&R consultant for Universal Music UK and Germany. Emma is a director of Reimagine Records, working with major rights holders, Hypnosis songs, to create new masters and adding value to a catalogue for new releases, TV and film. And as the head of the creative division of Tower Yard North in Wakefield, she is building the music community in this new industry hub in the north of England, which I'm terribly excited about because I live in Sheffield, so big up for that as well. So, without further ado, if you just made a connection right there.
Yeah.
I was enjoying this
Same
chat.
place tomorrow.
I was enjoying that. You're like, mate. Yeah, great. So, moving swiftly on, what advice, this is quite a deep questions to start with, folks. What advice would you have given yourself when you were 18 and starting out in industry?
Gosh, what advice would I give myself? To have fun with it. I mean, I guess talking to you guys, I went to Trent, so I have a little bit more of a different perspective, I guess, in that sense. So when I was 18, I came here, I studied history and philosophy, so I wasn't doing what you guys were doing. But it was harder at that time to kind of get into music. There wasn't stuff like this, so I kind of just went with what I was good at school. But I wish I kind of spent a little bit more time between like 18 and 21 focusing more on the music side of things. So I would say that if you have a driven passion that you literally cannot stop thinking about, is to put a little bit more time into that.
That's good advice, yes. Yeah. Stick with what you love. How about you, Emma?
God, oh God, this is very loud. Probably don't need a microphone. Well, I kind of came from the creative artist side, and then I've moved into the industry side just because my career has evolved. And I think if I went back in time, I think I would have done production. And yeah, exactly what Davina's just said about, getting the advice at this stage, learning more about it. When I was younger, coming from the north, I had to move down south, but there wasn't this kind of thing available to me. So if I could go back or do it now, I would be doing exactly what you guys are doing and learning more and networking. And you're doing everything right.
Oh, that's lovely. I want someone to say that to me. You're doing it right. That would be great. Nice advice. So as a kind of a journalist in the start and a songwriter at the start, what was the turning point for you both respectively to decide to go into industry and A&R?
There was only so many articles I could write about Adele being on stage and bringing little kids on, and that was like the focus of my day. I was like, I'm bored of this. I want to find out more about the people she's working with, the songwriters behind her biggest songs. I really was focused on the behind the music kind of stuff, and I kept like begging my editor at the time for us to focus more on that rather than just the forefront of like the artist or the celebrity factor, which I guess that frustration drove me to be like, I need more than what I'm doing now.
Oh, interesting. Nice.
Well, I was in the creative side. I was a singer, and I moved down to London to pursue my career. Fortunately, I had record deals and publishing, and I pushed myself as a writer, more on the writing side than the artistry. And I think the reason why I kind of moved into A&R was completely accidental. It was around a time when publishing and the writing side was getting harder, I found. The DSB world was starting, the streaming, the YouTube, and getting cuts in the UK wasn't enough, and getting in those sessions were getting harder because there's so many people wanting to do this, let's be real. And I always found that getting the artist in the room with me was the key to me getting that songwriting cut. And I never really had anyone holding my hand or helping and developing and supporting me. My family weren't from this industry, and I was constantly always learning. And I think being in the room with artists ended up pushing me to doing a different role. I kind of started nurturing the talent, working with them, booking sessions with them, with other people from my network. And eventually it kind of turned into management, then A&R, publishing, and, the whole shebang, really. So it kind of accidentally moved me away from the creative side, which I still like to dip my toe into. But I think I like seeing things from the moment it starts to completion, and that's kind of what's driven me to keep doing what I'm doing in the A&R side of things and the artist development.
Brilliant, thank you. That was great. So what does a typical day look like for you?
There's no typical day.
Yes.
That's the first thing. There is no typical day.
Nice.
Like, I can wake up and have meetings from 10 to 5, and 2 of them were cancelled. Someone won't turn up to a studio session. Someone's having a breakdown. Like, I'll have to move my day. Like, it's not a typical day. I think I would say typical things happen in the sense of what I plan for my day in terms of setting people up with sessions and helping with collaborations or listening to mixes. That's pretty typical. Like, I'm listening to music every single day. But in terms of how the day goes, there's never a typical day.
Great stuff. I love it.
I'd say exactly the same. I mean, I just had a message a minute ago from an artist who's in London, and I'm here saying, I can't get in touch with the producer. I'm like, we'll ring him. Do you know what I mean? It's like every day there's another drama, there's another thing to correct, there's no one day in my career and my life right now is exactly the same, which I love, but at the same time, I do like a little bit of routine. And the thing that is consistent is, you know, the meetings and the listening to music and putting that time in to give real feedback, real advice, because I say it as it is. Sometimes people like it, some people they don't, but no day is the same. Get ready if you're going into this.
Is anyone thinking of going into A&R in the room? We've got a few. Yeah? Nice. Okay, so we've got a few of you thinking of going into A&R in industry. Great. Okay. What are the best bits? What are the best bits of the job?
I guess taking something from nothing and turning it into something. It's happened a few times in my career. I'll say Tion's one of them. I mean, I went to school with him, so I've known him for a really, really long time, and we've been close. But seeing what I guess that song had did, become like the first drill #1 ever, and breaking records, and now it's 2-time platinum. Like, seeing what that has done, like, that's been something you've taken from nothing and turned it into something. I think when I signed Mae Muller, when she was just performing in Camden, and we worked for 2 years before she signed her record deal to Capitol. That was another process of taking something from nothing. So that's been like exciting times, but I do love, I guess, the groundwork for me. Like, artist development is super important. I'm not super driven about the hits now. I love creating them myself.
Nice.
Yeah.
God, where do I start? I think for me, it's like what she just said, you know, taking something from nothing and seeing it develop into something that is successful and has longevity. For me, at the minute, my career has taken another turn, and I'm kind of working more on flipping hits, working with rights holders who are the copyright owners of hit songs, and I'm working on flipping those records into new masters for music for purpose. And I think I like to think that what I'm doing at the minute is it's for a purpose. There's a lot of people that probably, when you get into it, there's always a purpose. You're learning, and you might have a release, or you might be doing something for a particular reason. But seeing them records come out, even if it's in a new light or it's a brand new original song, that's where my passion lies at the minute. And I don't know if I'm going off topic of the question, but yeah, no, I'm that's what I'm focused on. I mean, for example, I was part of a record recently that was flipped. It was Corinne Bailey Ray, Put Your Records On. A kid from, God, he was from Salt Lake City. He had no numbers on his Spotify monthly artists. He had literally less than 1,000. He was putting out his records independently through DistroKid, and he really, really wanted to put out his version of this record. And my friend who wrote and produced that record with Corinne, we listened to it, and we really pushed it to get out there, and within 5 days it did 500 million streams on TikTok, and then, you know, it brought a resurgence to the original record. And seeing something bringing back a record now is something that I'm kind of focused on as well, like trying resurging the hits of the past, because we are inundated on the DSPs with new music all the time, and I think it could be a great strategy to build traction as well, because that's the hard part, is getting, how do we get people to come and listen to us? Yeah, going off on one, but go for it.
Oh, it's great. No, I love it when people go off piste. It's great. I guess that at the moment I'm going a bit off piste now, actually, is that you're working in the north at the Tower Yard Hub, which is really exciting, and you're doing a lot of work in London, which is also really exciting.
I'm in London tomorrow, though.
Yeah.
Stop.
So, and I myself have spent many years working in London as well as the north now. What do you think of London as future as the creative hub? Is it still super important for young artists and industry people to go to London to build their career? Or do you think that they can kind of network around other cities first? What's your view on this?
Okay, so being from London, I still think London's really important. However, I do think that if you believe in what you do and you create a fan base, you can do it anywhere. I think that's really important. I've watched it with my good friend H and what he's done with Manchester and what they've done with Northern Quarters. And I remember when he first came to London before he got signed and was like, everyone was like, you need to spend the time in London, you need to kind of work. I live here. He was so adamant that he didn't want to do that. And actually he brought most of the industry to Manchester to try and get him signed as well. So he was always being very focused and being like, I'm a kid from Manny. Manny's really important to me. I want to make sure I do it for my city. And I think it's been the same with like JK in Birmingham and just some other people. And like, I don't think you need it as much. I think the music industry as a whole, people have been very proud for where they're from. And I think they're using that to the best possibilities for their own self now.
Interesting food for thought for people in the audience.
I think it's really changing. I mean, when I was 17, I moved to London. I'm obviously a northerner, and I moved there to pursue my dreams and my career in the south. But everything is changing now. There's a lot of levelling up going on. I mean, who knew that there was a massive hub here until I came here today? You can find talent anywhere, and you don't necessarily have to be in London. And obviously we've got portals now with the BBC introducing, and you can authentically build your fan base starting from your own area now. So I think London's really important for like those meetings if you want to go for the face-to-face and get yourself known and network and be up and amongst it. But we do have Zoom now, and there's a lot of things moving all over the country. I mean, yes, the tile yard where I've worked in London for like 13 years has now started a hub in West Yorkshire, in Wakefield, where, funnily enough, I'm from. And then, you know, EMI North, that's happening. There's a lot of things that are available in different places that you just really wouldn't expect. And you can create your own, you know. We live on the internet now. We put records out virtually online. Do you know what I mean? We can do it anywhere. You can do it on Zoom. You can do sessions. I have artists doing writing sessions with people in America and Nashville or LA or wherever. And, you know, this is the crazy world that we're living in. I do still prefer the face-to-face and building a real, authentic relationship, but I think it's very exciting for us Northerners as well, if you're from the North, with the levelling up and everything that's starting to happen around us. I think from now to the next 5 years, I think there's going to be a massive change in the whole arts and entertainment culture.
Interesting. I'm really interested in the future of this because I'm a Londoner who's just moved to Sheffield, so it's
happening in Sheffield as well.
Yeah, Sheffield's the one. It's great. I love it. I love the North. I think it's fantastic. But I am a Londoner like you, so I miss my city sometimes. So thinking of it from an artist perspective, from someone that wants to get signed and is doing most of their work DIY, they're self-releasing. What's your advice to an artist that's just starting out, that's self-releasing? What are the absolute must-haves in terms of, from your point of view, that would make them kind of someone that you'd want to look into or maybe work with? What are the kind of things that you'd be looking for?
How consistent you are. I think that's the most important thing, is to, like, there's thinking you're consistent and there's actually being consistent. It's like you have to treat this as a job, as something that you wake up and you do every day, whether you're working or studying. You have to make time for it. You need to know if you're a writer, you're going to write 3-4 times a week. If you're an artist, how many times are you going to get in the studio, or how many times you're going to reach out to people to collab. I think that's the first thing, and then understanding that a no is not a no, because you hear no all the time, and music is really down to perception at the end of the day. So as much as my opinion matters, it also doesn't. And I really believe that I would like people proving me wrong if I haven't seen something the first time. But yeah, understand that, like, you'll hear a lot of no's. You'll also hear a lot of nothing, which you can take as a no. But also just don't take things personal and just kind of just continue that ride. But also, like, reach out to people. I feel like I have times with artists and it's like I can talk to their managers all day, but their ego stops them from DMing another artist about something, and they'll just be so hesitant. But actually, it's a quicker way to get a response. Like, people will respond eventually, even if it's not the first time, it's the second time. So just be consistent in what you believe. Ask for help, ask for advice, rely on your network of your friends, and kind of just start that growth naturally when it comes to putting out music. And don't think that, hey, I need a manager straight away. Like, I'm an artist, I need a manager now. I would always say the most important thing is a lawyer, even before a manager. If you're getting to the point that you're having conversations, a lawyer will protect you from things that a manager can't. But just stay consistent with the journey.
Really interesting. I wish someone had told me about getting a lawyer back in the day.
Wish someone had told me. Yeah, I mean, I echo that completely. I mean, I think for me, I really do focus on the actual ability and talent and the hard graft. Just to keep it simple, like, I know we live in a world of numbers now where, you know, some people are getting deals just based on an algorithmic number or a playlist, you know, where you're picking up the most traction. And it's been interesting recently working with some really big A&Rs like Ted and people like that, where we've put some music forward and they haven't looked at the numbers, they've just listened to the record and they've taken a pun on that. And I thought those days were dead. Like, I feel like we are all trying to be viral sensations overnight, but I'm all about nurturing the talent and, you know, being consistent. You know, that's the important. It's about being authentic. A moment won't last a lifetime unless you put that work in. Do you know what I mean? And you can have a one song that comes out, but if you don't have that follow-up and be consistent, that moment can fade away very quickly and someone else can take that moment away from you. And, you know, if you actually do want a career in this, it's about you personally, about what you put in. You can't, people will blame managers, people will blame the publishers, but, you know, we're not mind readers. We need people to come and, you know, not badger us, but get in our faces and tell them what they're doing. And I think some people like love to lay blame elsewhere, but it is all really down to you and your ability and enhancing your talent to push it to the next level.
That was some great advice. That was super 360 as well. I feel like it was good, comprehensive. Right, festival lineup. Dream festival lineup. Yeah, I know, right? This is one of those questions where it's like, they can be dead or alive. They could be a character. Maybe not. They can, yeah, maybe they can. They could be anyone. I can hear the thinking going on here now.
Okay, so I would have loved to see Michael Jackson perform.
Yes,
so I feel
say
like
that as well.
that's like a given because he was super talented and an amazing performer. I would also have loved to see an Aaliyah because even now her music is sampled so much by so many artists. Like Drake does it all the time. And she's influenced music in so many ways. She influenced Destiny's Child and so many other people. So I would have loved to seen her. If it's someone alive, it's Beyonce all day, every day, because like she's the queen and we live in her world. So I guess they would be my dream lineup.
Such a good lineup, and like Aaliyah is just like, gosh, like a hero, an absolute hero.
Oh God, where do we even begin? I mean, all those kind of people, Beyonce every day, 100%. You know, and I love my Carole Kings and my rockers as well, like your Kings of Leon and your Rolling Stones. Varied, really. But as well, I feel like these festivals could actually happen even with the dead. Do you know? There's all this kind of metaverse thing going on at the minute where I'm having conversations at the minute that are so wild to me. I didn't even know about this metaverse thing where they're building avatars of people like Elvis Presley where you can actually, you know, be there and feel like you're in the thing. I mean, I can't imagine that it's ever going to be the same as feeling that atmosphere around you. But we're living in a crazy world now, but I don't know, bring back Motown. I'd love to see a festival with all the old Motown people and, you know, and a bit of a combo, really.
Sounds amazing.
I know, it's never going to happen, is it?
There's an amazing documentary about a festival that happens in New York City. I think it's called Motown. I think it was called Motown Festival, and it was like as big as Woodstock, but because it was primarily music by people of colour and black people and Motown, it just didn't get the coverage. If you watch it, it's amazing. Right, anyway, like I say, I'm going off piste again. Right, okay. So, what was it? Oh, yes. Tell us about your recent signings. I mean, is there someone that, I guess, the main thing that would be really interesting to know about would be a recent signing that you've worked with in a way that was kind of unexpected, or you kind of had to really innovate with, or, you know, in a kind of had a bit of a journey with them.
Okay, so last year I went to Nigeria for the first time for work, and as you know, or you guys might not know, that Afrobeats is a really big genre that is growing a lot in the UK. It's slowly growing in the US, but I guess within West African music, the UK is kind of like the second best territory that they do in. So I went to Nigeria to kind of just meet some talent, find a little bit more about them on the ground. And during that time, I met this guy called Olamide and another guy called Ashake, who is kind of like, they're saying is the next one after Wizkid and Burna Boy. And I spent a lot of time with them, getting to know them, their music. And the guy who has produced all his music, I ended up signing him and managing him. But that was from a trip. I mean, I took him out, we hanged out, I went to the studio, I went to different parts of Nigeria. And then I brought him to London in December when Ashake was doing all his shows. And that was kind of just like, probably like a year's worth of work from the initial conversation with his lawyer at the time to December when he came here, and we eventually signed the deal. On the 2 days before we was about to sign the deal, another publisher came in and offered 100,000 more in cash, and I had to convince the whole of my financial team why I should sign him for 100 grand more than I initially put out the offer in 3.5 hours, which was probably one of the stressful things of last year. But after a last-minute proposal begging the business affairs person to give me this money, even though I ask her for money all the time, they eventually let us do the deal, and it kind of just speaks for itself now with the hits that they're having and what they're doing. But I guess that's one of the proudest moments of last year, just kind of getting the deal aligned when I was kind of in the trenches and doing it myself, where then this other publisher got like the CEO of the company involved, and I was kind of going against him. So it was nice to be able to win a deal like that. But I also signed gigs last year and signed Jules and signed Tiana Major 9 as well. So yeah, it's been a good year.
Productive.
Productive.
Right? Yes. That's
Yes.
so great. Productive. Yeah. Brilliant. And, you know, it's amazing work. Like 3.5 hours. You've got 3.5 hours, right?
Yeah. You don't see stress until you're lying on the floor in the middle of your office asking someone to help you.
Wow. What a day. Blimey. Wow. How about you, Emma?
Mine sounds good as that. Well, my signings are a bit weird at the minute because I'm kind of not just signing like the artist kind of thing. It's the industry's changed so much, so I'm signing off on songs with some of the licenses that we've got and matchmaking producers and artists with the songs that are already written. So last week we did one with an act that me and my team signed called NFI, and they put a record out, and it was a Tricky Stewart record. I don't know if you remember Tricky Stewart, but it was Case of the X. And we put it out with Jack Bat, which is David Guetta. So that was a really exciting signing to watch that blow up in a new twist, like a completely different version of a record. But some signings that I've been involved with, I work with Stephen Minoski. I don't know if you've heard of him. He does all the Segala records. I just got paid. He had, he did Machine Gun Kelly's last single with Travis Barker. So we look after him. I'm working with a team called the Future Agency, and we're currently looking after, this is really random, because we get heritage artists and we get, new ones, but I was really personally excited about this, but it was the bearded lady from The Great Showman. And Kiala Settle, and we've just got her on a record at the minute, and she's going to be starring in the new Wicked film that's about to come out next year. But it's very varied. I mean, I've just signed a lot of lo-fi kids. I mean, that is an area that we're doing a lot of focus on, doing some lo-fi covers, lo-fi originals. It is massive on numbers on DSPs. Obviously, it's music that's played in the background, but it's a crazy world. There's not just one genre of music. We've got to remember that. And some of these other genres are like popping off, and people are making actual physical money from something that, you know, someone can do from the bedroom. Do you know what I mean? They don't necessarily have to go and knock on a door and get a record deal or a publishing deal. They can put it out and things can happen. So that's quite an exciting area. It's not necessarily the cool, but, you know, a kid, for example, from Lo-Fi Girl that we're working with, he's got like 70 million monthly listeners. And like, he's a no one. He just gets on with it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's not scream and shout about, but that's an area that I'm really focusing on at the minute. So, yeah, it's a bit random.
I love it. That's great. We've got such a breadth here as well of like stuff that you're doing at the moment. It's great. It's really, really interesting. It's brilliant stuff. And also a great kind of like overview of A&R in terms of the sort of breadth of what you're doing and what is happening in the industry at the moment as well. We sort of had a brief moment where we talked about stuff that, you know, like this year that you've been doing and you were quite pleased with in terms of your career. Like, what I wanted to do was touch upon career high points, but also what is a career low point and how did you bounce back from that? So a career high point, a challenging point, and then kind of what was the thing that helped you just crack it, get out of it?
Well, this industry is very colourful, and you can come across some wonderful people, and you can come across some quite evil people. No, I shouldn't really be saying that. You should be all going out of here with positive vibes. But the reality is real. Like, there's a lot of pretenders in this game, and there's a lot of greedy people, and, you know, I think if you get to the point where we're probably at, you've probably come across people that have been bad managers or bad lawyers or bad business partners, and you've been screwed or you've lost money or something's happened. I personally, what I've learned is not to trust too much. I like to think the best of everybody, but I was done over by a partner financially, and I was too busy enjoying the creative side and building something that I didn't really know what was going on in the background on the business side. So I would give the advice to always stay on top of your admin, always stay on top of like your registrations, and, you know, communicate with people. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I think I took my finger off the ball and I got burnt. But luckily we were in a pandemic and I had a bit more breathing time to figure it out and pull myself out of that, and came out in a better situation with what I'm doing now. But the highlights have been, you know, nurturing talent and getting them over the line and doing deals with people like these rights holders that I'm working with and publishing, and from when I worked for Simon for many years on the shows. Some people might turn their nose up at these shows, but I was personally proud of working on these television shows and watching some of this talent that, you know, came and basically auditioned and I've gone on to have very successful careers. So that would have been a great highlight. And also musically, I've had some successes as a songwriter and as a singer. So, but there are a lot of low times too. But you've just got to keep getting up every day and fighting, because there's a lot of like firefighting every day. There's always something that needs tackling, I think, and it's a very draining but rewarding business.
Amazing. Nice.
That's a good answer.
That was a really good answer.
A really good
That
answer.
was, yeah.
I would say to trust your gut, know when the right time is to walk away from any situation. If you keep getting a feeling that you're not happy in certain things, then you kind of got to walk away from it. I would say that because when your passion becomes your job, it's really hard to separate that in life. Yep. Because it actually takes over everything, because it never feels like work. So you need to know when it's a time to kind of step away from something or to not work with a certain person, because at the end of the day, you get one life and you need to know you have to be happy at that point. I would say just have like amazing friends and people around you that help keep you grounded, because it's a very interesting industry that we work in, and it's a forever moving and changing parts. And I think sometimes it feels like, especially as an A&R, that you're just at shows, you're traveling, you're with artists all the time and it's all fun. But actually it's so constant that you kind of just need a minute away from it to stay grounded. So have people around you that keep you grounded is really important. And I'll also say, as a woman being in A&R, which I think is important to touch upon, it's still a very male-driven industry. So you're dealing with a lot of different emotions and egos, and sometimes you have to kind of overthink how you respond to things, because it's very easy for other people as a woman to be like, you're handling this in a very emotional way because you care. And I'm quite a snappy person at times. So I have to kind of think about what I'm going to respond. But I think it's important just to realise that the strengths and that you have as a woman, I think sometimes you go the extra mile because naturally we're pretty nurturing people. So yeah, just kind of just understanding that actually it's your superpower more than anything else.
Oh, that was great. It's a superpower. Caring about what you do is a superpower. So you've kind of naturally... I've got a question about Simon Cowell in a minute. Oh, God. I know, I bet you get them all the time. I know, I'm sorry. I just had to. But in terms of we've naturally got there, and it being that, I think it's really important for us to touch upon this, because I think it's still a very, very male-oriented industry. You know, only 5%. I think in the music industry, only 5% of people are women. You know, at the moment in terms of industry workforce, which is, I think that's the right stat. It's the most recent stat, which is a very, kind of low disparity. So the stage definitely doesn't match what's behind the scenes. So is there any other advice that you'd give to someone who is minority gender, woman, trans, making it in industry?
I think it is a weird topic, isn't it? Like I don't think anyone's got the answer, but I think if you're good at something, that should be. It don't matter what you are, who you are, what you look like, or anything like that. It should be about your ability and your talent. And as a woman in the business, like we've just said, it can be difficult. Like it can to be heard, and sometimes. You are outnumbered by the blokes in the office. But I think it's changing. I do think it is changing. I've got a lot of powerful female friends in this business, and sitting with you here, I've met another one, do you know what I mean? And, I work quite closely with a woman called Amy Thompson, and just watching her career at the minute, Billboard magazine, and everything that she's done in the business, it empowers you to just keep going. So I think the focus has to be on your workmanship. Being good. I think we're all living in a world right now where we're kind of saying that we need to be a certain person to get the opportunities, and there's not enough opportunities. And I think if you're good, it'll come through, and you just have to keep fighting and use your superpower, like she just said. I think we can't just keep putting things into categories of why things aren't happening. There's always been women in this game, but we are fighting through now, and it's a very complicated subject matter, but I think talent has to be the main reason, and the ability. It doesn't matter what you are.
Yes. It's all about talent. It's particularly for you as well. It's all about talent. Look at this. Got an amazing lineup. Any other advice?
I mean, I feel like I don't have much to add to that because I agree with everything with what you just said. But I'll just say be unapologetically you. That's the best thing I can kind of just give. Like, be you. Work hard. Also play the game with it. I think
always play the game.
There's a game that you all end up learning that this industry is, and the game is to kind of just like, I think Rihanna said it one time, like, fake it till you make it. Just like kind of just, you have your bad days, deal with how you do it. It's a bad day, get up and do it again. You just got to kind of just keep going. But just like know why you do it, know the reasons why you want to do it, and just keep doing it for yourself.
That's a really, really good, because confidence is a muscle, isn't it? You know, you just got to use it. You've got to keep turning up. That's what I always think. What's the best piece of advice you've been given, respectively? What's the thing that sticks in your head when you think, right, here's my mantra for just like doing my day?
I think, as I just said, it's like, remember why you do it and have fun. Like, you've got to enjoy the journey. I remember when I first got my first job in the music industry, I was super overwhelmed. Like, you're running around, you're making tea for people. Like, you're drained with everything you're trying to remember. And it's kind of just like, it's I don't know how to put it, but it's very overwhelming when you first start about it. And then, you know, you get to the point of actually, like, you're seeing these meetings with people who are just kind of just taking your knowledge or telling them who you think they should look out for and whatever, and they're taking it. They're then going to their boss, and then they're saying that they've found it, and you kind of get no credit. And it's actually just feeling like you have to get to the point that you're brave enough to have those conversations in the room, in the meetings, and actually be like, I know what I'm doing. I know that I deserve to be here. I know that I'm good enough. And when you get that point, I think everything just kind of clicks, you know, and that you have that level of confidence that will then help take you to the next level.
That's so great. So if anyone needs that, put that on a post-it next to your mirror. I know I'm good enough and I know I'm supposed to be here. I think that's a brilliant, brilliant piece of advice. How about you?
I think you have to absolutely know how to switch off and make some time for yourself, because it'll only make you grow with this. You can get carried away and be in it 24/7, and I know what we said earlier, you know, keep being consistent and all that, but do learn to make some time for yourself. I mean, I wish someone had said that to me a while ago, because I do feel like I'm always running around. I'm always racing here, and my brain's constantly switched on, and sometimes when I get into bed on a night and I just want to just switch off, I haven't had the ability to do that, because we are taking in so much information, so much music, so many people, so many politics. It's really important to go for a walk, you know, breathe in fresh air, because you can burn out in this game really, really quickly. And people that are very successful, you know, have given me that kind of advice. You know, Emma, take a break, take a moment. You know, you can't do everything. And I'm like, no, I can't. I can do everything. But really, we are just human beings at the end of the day, and I think it's really important to listen. That is probably, you know, even if you don't agree with someone's opinion or someone's view or on anything really, always take it all in and take a moment before reacting, and yeah, that's my advice, and that's what advice that people are giving to me. Not that I always take it, but I think everybody needs to have a bit of self-love to succeed.
And that was going to bring me on to like the sort of final question, which was around mental health, because you were talking about the music industry being so demanding, and also when you do what you love as your job, it's like you never can, you know, it's like it joins up. So is there anything else that you'd add in terms of just looking after your mental health in industry?
I would say find something else that you enjoy outside of music. Like, I love working out. I work out all the time. That's like my time where I don't listen to music. I don't think about music, because I'm probably in too much pain when I'm working out. But like, I just don't think about it. And it's kind of just like, that's my moment. I try to start my day with it. I tend not to answer any calls, or I have an hour and a half where like my phone's on Do Not Disturb, where I literally just don't talk to anyone, because that's probably the only time I get in the whole day. That is for me, and it's kind of a nice way to wake up and start my day that way. So I say I do that, and I would say that like having just like great friends and a support system. My best friend's here today, and like we studied here, and like she's seen the whole journey. Like, she's the one who I cry to, who I'm screaming at, the one I drag to different music events with me. But it's like having that level of support really helps keep you grounded in something that is so fast and ever changing. So I would say they're the two things for me.
That was great, brilliant. I'm going to take this advice as well. This is brilliant. Note to self, like. You know.
Get off your phone. That's what I think. These things, these contraptions are evil, and they take over our lives, and they make us compare ourselves to other people. You should never compare. You should just focus on your journey. You know, always collaborate, work with other people, and all that. But, you know, for your mental health, it can send you wild if you start comparing yourself or get into that. Do what makes you happy and do what you want to do. You're only here for a moment. So, and it's so sad hearing people who have taken their own life, or they've been poorly with all this mental health stuff, and it's very easy to fall into that trap, and them phones are a little bit responsible. So I think sometimes you switch off and be with people that enjoy you and you enjoy them, and like your family, your friends, your support network. Go for a walk, and enjoy your life.
Such great advice. I always
don't even know where it's coming from. It's just filling out.
It's great. It was great. And I often think, the thing that I always think about is that comparison is the death of joy. That's what I always think about. So if you're doing what you're doing and you think, someone else is doing it like that, comparison is the death of joy. All right, that's what someone told me that once, and I've tried to.
Even at this side of it, even the non-creative side, I think you can be watching what someone else is doing, and it can send you wild. Your mind can go crazy. And Instagram and all these social media things, they're great if you use them in the right way as a tool for who you are, or even if you just want to spy on someone. Do you know what I mean? Like, and be a bit nosy. Come on, we all do it. Like, we're always checking out if someone's had the lips done or something like that. But we are in that world where we are comparing ourselves, and just be authentic. That's what everybody's saying at the minute. Be authentic to who you are, and just enjoy being present. Like, my other half tells me off all the time because I'm on this bloody phone. But I have to, because my work, like, people need to contact me. I'm feeling like it's a 24-hour thing, but it doesn't have to be. You have a choice, You have a choice to answer that call. You have a choice to answer that message, and you have a choice to like or unlike something. So just be present. That is the main thing, because the world is going around very fast, and you could miss something if you're bloody looking at your phone, or you could get hit by a car. But there you go.
Especially at the front of Metronome, right? It's a difficult place out there. What was I going to... Oh, I had one more question, right? I had one more question about... this is a Simon Cowell-related question, all right? So...
It's about his face.
It's not about his face. No. It could be. It's not. I was like, I was thinking this earlier, do you ever disagree with him? Did you ever disagree with him or any of the rest of the panel? In the process of kind of people auditioning?
Of course. There's a lot of secrets and tricks with X Factor. I'm pretty sure the audience are aware now. Like, we do look for the talent, and we know what's going to be put in front of people like Simon and the guys. It's not as if I'm shattering anyone's dream. It's, we already have... I personally have always had a bit of I was part of the process of finding talent and working with the talent on the shows and song choices and finding them from... under a rock or at a gig. Do you know what I mean? You don't always agree. I always agreed with Sharon and people like that because I love her. Do you know what I mean? But Simon, he is usually quite spot on. But no, I don't always agree with him. No.
So if they didn't like someone, but if they liked someone and you hadn't chosen them, did you just have to continue?
It's probably better for the contestants, to be honest, if they don't get chosen.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Sorry, I've gone off piece. I just was
No. I mean, so long ago now. The world has changed with, like,
I'm sure,
getting deals and how it works. It seems like a million years ago since the last show.
Yeah, it does.
And it had died a long time before it ended. So, yeah.
As an artist, has anyone ever had anyone turn around to them and say, you should go on a television talent show? Yeah, you have. I did. Anyone else? Yeah, you did at the back, so there's a few. Yeah. So pardon? Your mum said it? Yeah, it's often the parents that go, oh, you should go on the telly. And I just used to quite like that comment. It's been so fabulous having you. I have enjoyed it so much. Thank you so much for your generosity, your enthusiasm. We're going to go over to questions from the audience now.
1, 2. Woohoo. Questions?
Any questions, people? Oh, there's a few.
Hiya. How we doing? All right? No.
Good.
Good. Just with my question, so how do you think the future of A&R looks, particularly with like 360 deals with like record labels and stuff like that? Obviously, people can just put their stuff on Spotify or whatever, and music technology is advancing fastly. What do you think the future is, and how do you think it stays relevant?
Really good question.
Thanks.
I think that with the growth of technology, I think it's very easy with the algorithms to pick out what is good, but they can't pick out what's next. So it's like you can have someone who's doing amazing on TikTok sign that song, but what happens after that, you know? You have to create that song, you need to have that momentum again, so we're still relevant within our jobs. I think we might rely on that for the first hit of finding people who have an audience or a fan base, but we're still needed to be able to create and put them in the rooms and be able to make that again. So I would say that like it's a bit of both, because we're using it more for sure when it comes to searching and finding. A lot of it is down to venues closing down as well. So obviously during COVID, a lot of music venues closed down, so there wasn't as many like open mic nights and things like when I first started that I would go to like 3-4 times a week. So you rely on the technology a lot more to find things, but we're still needed to continue to create and actually turn someone in from like a one-off to a career-driven person who has a longevity within music.
Yeah, exactly what she said. I do think, I don't think we're out of a job just yet. Just to be real, like, I think a technology device doesn't have the data that we've got in our mind from our own experience. And I think A&R is a lot about matchmaking. And, we might be able to find a sensation that's just popped off on an algorithm, but we're not going to be, A&Rs aren't going to be lights that switch on when there's something trending just yet. I think we need human interaction and human opinion, I think the world has gone a bit crazy in a way, in my opinion. Like, I think back in the day when a record came out, you'd wait for that critic's review, and that would be the influence as well. But now the critics are a lot of the influencers. We rely on influencers to help influence the traction of records and stuff like that. I mean, and that has changed, and we had to adjust and live in that world and think strategically. But there is nothing more important than working with someone that can give you real advice and use that knowledge that they have in their head, not in a database, not on the, a computer is not going to put you in the room with X, Y, and Z that could help you have that, that magical moment in your career. So that's what I think. I don't think we're out of a job just yet.
Yeah, thanks for that. Just a little side question, a bit of a weird one as well. With AI, I think it's kind of really scary right now because people can make beats and then they can just find a rapper's vocal and then they can just type the lyrics and sort of make a track with their voice without ever having to actually officially record them. Do you think that's absolutely bonkers and it's only going to get better and more advanced? I think that's terrifying as an artist and the industry in general.
No, I think that is like, I'm still figuring all that stuff out, but copyright still protects a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It's still protected.
I think, I used this thing actually for my bio the other day. You can do anything on these things, can't you? Like this chat, I don't know, it's called Chat AI, where you can literally give them a bit of information and it just types this where was that when I was doing my homework at school? Do you know what I mean? Where the hell was that? But it is scary and like the world of, what's the film with bloody Arnold Schwarzenegger in, Terminator, it's happening, do you know what I mean? But at the same time, you can never beat human interaction and it's not authentic, I don't feel. Like, maybe when they do your biographies or your CVs and that's like making it easier, but with songs and music, it's got to come from somewhere, do you know what I mean? There's got to be a bit of heart and soul in there, and I don't think, technology doesn't have a heart and a soul. Yet, who knows? This metaverse world is freaking me out, but it's coming, guys. We've got to get ready.
Thank you. I was just wondering, what's a common but key characteristic of someone that makes it in the industry? What's a similarity between everyone that's made it? What links them all together?
They believe in themselves. That's it. Like they just believe in themselves more than anyone else. Yeah, someone can tell you that the song's awful and they're like, F you. Do you get what I mean? Like, they believe in themselves and what they're creating, and I think that's the thing. As long as you have that self-belief, then that will kind of just take you from here to there.
I think that's the difference as well between an artist and a star. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of artists out there, but there's not as many stars. Do you know what I mean? I went to a panel not so long ago, and there was Corder Marshall. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he signed the Muse. He signed some huge stars, and you know, he said exactly what she's just said. You know, it's about that self-belief. It's that aura when someone walks in the room. You just know if if they've got all the other things that tick them boxes, there's nothing stopping with them. And you know, it does come with the team as well that comes with it. So it's about you picking the right people around you as well with the self-belief. But yeah, that's what, if that made sense.
Any more questions? Yep.
Hello, how's it going? Bit of a question from a tutor here. So I'm going to just focus on songwriting and new platforms such as TikTok. Do you think that current Generation Zs that are coming through writing songs specifically for TikTok, do you think that's diminishing songwriting, lyrics, and in the future diminishing that further even more?
Can you repeat the second bit again, please?
Yeah, I didn't hear it all.
So Generation Zs that are coming through writing songs mainly for TikTok, do you feel as though the platform and the way people are writing songs for TikTok is diminishing the quality of songwriting with regard to depth of lyrics and quality of songwriting from your experience and opinion?
No.
I was going to say yes, but go on, keep going.
I wouldn't say that it's just diminishing it. I would say that if they're able to create what is classed as hits, they're doing something right in the way that they're writing. I think it's what you take from that when it comes to, I guess you're talking from a songwriter's perspective, if they can then go and then write and collaborate with someone else. Because I think that it's a really hard one, because I know that like you're writing within a time frame on TikTok, and it's only certain snippets. So like right now people know snippets of the song and not necessarily the artist or who is behind that. But I think if you can take that and turn that into something, then that's a great skill.
Yeah, well, I might backtrack now. Yes and no, for me. I don't know. I just think it's taken a bit of the magic out of it. But I think if you have the ability to curate something for a purpose like that, you know, I think that is a certain skill set. So I agree with Davina. It's Davina, isn't it? Yeah. I keep saying Davinia. I agree that, you know, for TikTok, I don't know. I'm still all over the place with all that world. But you can rediscover some great music through TikTok as well. So it's a weird question in a way, because if you're starting on a new piece of material for it, you have to kind of go with what's going on now and curate and make that music for the purpose of being a shorter clip and catching the moment of the hook of the song to draw people to actually want to listen to the full thing, if that makes sense. But sometimes you can look at Rip Monday, who I was talking about earlier. His song was massive on TikTok, and it was someone else's song, and it brought a regeneration to that record. So it's a weird one.
There is a lot of frustration going on at the moment in regards to teasing music on TikTok. I think Ryan Tedder said it maybe a few weeks ago that once artists are teasing songs on TikTok, they can't then use that material anywhere else because it's already out there. You know, so they can't then take that song and pitch it. So that's kind of like the other way to kind of look at what people are kind of doing, because there's so much focus on TikTok that it's stopping people from having other opportunities to play songs elsewhere.
Hello. Good afternoon. I have a question. So you find this artist, you discover an artist that their social media it doesn't exist, but you just know that there's something going on here. Great talent, just got it, but really shocking at kind of getting it and grasping it with social media. In your world, how you are now, would you sign the artist and develop them out of nothing?
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I would. The reason why, because talent over anything else. I think you can grow a social media presence. There's so many ways to grow a social media presence, but if you've got someone sitting there that's super talented in front of you, I'm not going to waste that opportunity.
That's a wonderful, wonderful response. So many students really struggle with the social media build, and
all these artists do. It's a nightmare.
But I'm just kind of thinking, and they kind of, some of them get bewildered or they get disenchanted with thinking, do you know what? You know, we write really good songs, or we're in a band, and I do think that things are changing, and that's really positive to hear. That it's not all about the data and about the stats. And if someone's got great talent, you would take a punt and you take a leap of faith and sign them from the off. That's wonderful to hear.
I think us personally would, but I do know that some people in the labels, they do look at those numbers sometimes before the music. I'm not going to lie to you that there is that out there as well. But I think talent is starting to become more popular over the socials again now. I personally hope so. But I won't get too bogged down. I think if you've got something and you are obviously persistent and consistent on it all and want to put it out, I think the rest of it will grow organically. I have so many calls from artists and people all the time who actually get really depressed with they've done this amazing record and they're not getting the traction because they've not done enough on the social media. And I think these days there's all sorts of tricks and ways to build that, but the talent has to still always be authentic. So I think there can be a balance. So there's going to have to be a balance, I think. I think we're going to have to kind of work together on building that social platform at the same time as the talent. But I would work with somebody who had no numbers, and I have done.
And just one last question there. What is it for you that really does it? That shine a light where you go, you know what, I like this. What triggers that? And also, how does anyone get to you? How do they get you to listen to their music?
That's funny. Okay, so it's more for me. It's a feeling. It's like if I can't stop thinking about that song, if it's always popping up in my head, if I'm replaying a conversation, it's that repetitive moment for me when I'm like, okay, cool, I need to do something with it, which is normally when I try and act upon it. Or if I can't act upon it myself, I will always point it in the direction of someone else I know who works in music to be able to be like, you need to listen to this kid, you need to look out for this song, you need to do something with it any way you can. So that's the kind of thing for me. Getting hold of me is pretty difficult sometimes, not gonna lie. That's me being honest, but probably just through I'm better on Instagram. If someone DMs me or if someone emails me, that's the best way to kind of get hold of me. Please spell names right, because that's really important. Because a lot of time people hit, I guess, any of us up and they don't spell names, or it's just a bunch of text that is copied and pasted, which is fine, but at least change the name. People forget that sometimes too. But yeah, email, hit me up on social media, but just be patient, please.
I think, it's about a feeling. If it triggers an emotion, I think that's the starting point. If it makes me go away and still think about it, or get them goosebumps pimples when I'm watching and hearing something. And then reaching me, I'm quite easy to get hold of. That's why my partner always moans, because I'm never off my phone. But no, I have recently started working a little bit more on LinkedIn and emails and everything like that. And it's word of mouth as well, do you know what I mean? I won't answer everybody's emails, but I'll try. Or I'll delegate. No, I'm joking. But that's the truth, yeah.
Cool. Any other questions? Yeah.
Hi, How much how much does image matter when it comes to signing an artist?
It matters to a degree. Just being honest, it matters to a degree. It's not the full thing because I think that, as I said, it's talent first. And I think it's very important that when you meet someone, you work out their do's and don'ts. You know, everyone has like, okay, I'm willing to, you know, do this. I'm not going to do that. And I don't really like to mold people outside of who they are. I feel like I like to work with who they are more than I like to mold them. But it matters. It's hard because I'm an A&R. If I ask someone in marketing, they'll be like, absolutely. Like, we need to be able to do X, Y, Z, or someone in the PR team. But I think it matters to a degree, but I think it matters who you are yourself more than what someone thinks you can be.
Thank you.
It does and it doesn't. Exactly what she said. I'm completely cheating. I'm letting her speak first and copy what she's saying. No, but for me, yeah, you can. If somebody comes to you and they are already the full package, you know, you just will enhance that image and that brand and work with them as a team. Like, I think we're living in a very brand world now. So image is important. But I think when we say image is important, it doesn't mean that you have to be absolutely supermodel beautiful or, you know, image can mean anything. So I think if you have an image, you just have to have an image, do you know what I mean? And then you have to have confidence that supports that image. So that's what I think. But, you know, there's always people around you to help it enhance or dumb down that image if you want, if you get them. That's it.
Nice. Any more questions? Any more questions? No? All right. We're ahead of schedule, so I wonder if you could just give a bit of motivation and encouragement. We've got a lot of performers in the room, a lot of artists. A lot of them are at the beginning of their journey. Some may have already received a lot of no's or perhaps some yeses, and then people have let them down. So I guess some final words of sort of encouragement and motivation for our budding artists, performers, musicians, etc. Please.
I feel like I want to switch that a little bit.
Go for it.
Does anyone want to talk to us about their music or what they've been doing while we're here? Yeah?
Woo.
Your hands up at the front there.
There you go.
Hello. So, that's so loud. I was just like, I don't know. Since I was little, I've always like dreamt of being something. Whether that's like acting or music or football, like I've always wanted to be known. And I found my passion for music since I was like 8. Like just growing up, watching Hannah Montana. I found that music was a way of letting what was inside out. And I've been trying to write songs, and I've tried to, when you're in an emotion, feel that emotion and write it into my songs. But I feel as if, I don't know, like, I've never done a song where I'm fully, like, happy. Or, like you said, don't compare. But it's so easy to do when you hear these amazing songs on TikTok and stuff with people my age doing. So you have to compare. So at the minute, I'm trying to get out of that and not compare my work to someone else's. But I was just wondering, like, how likely is it for a 17-year-old girl to, like, actually make it? Like, how can I take the next step into my career?
Are you writing with others?
I've tried to write songs with other people.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Okay, first of all, I'll say, yes, it's likely. Okay. Yeah. And I would say just sometimes maybe, it depends how you're looking at it. Like, if you are trying to be an artist or if you want to do the singer-songwriter stuff, that, like, maybe if you're not feeling that emotion, that you work on how you collaborate with other people more. Because sometimes a song comes from someone else, you know? And then you perform that song, and that's when that emotion comes, rather than you writing it yourself. I think it's just working on the process that works for you more than anything else, rather than, like, the frustration you probably get when you're like, okay, like, I'm really not in my feelings when I'm writing this song, like, it's not taking me from here to there. I think it's just having conversation with your peers or people that you know and actually feeling what you need in that. Maybe it is, like, you need someone to come and write a hook that you find is more catchy, or you need someone to actually physically write the song from start to begin, and then you go away and then you sing it, or you work on it in that way. Or, you know, like you write a song, you leave it and you kind of come back to it, and then you write bits, piece at a time. There's no structure to writing a song. It could take you 6 months to write a song that you feel, or it could take you a day. So I would say continue to practice that process for yourself, and you'll get there.
I think you sound like you've got a really, you know, go-getter attitude anyway.
I mean, if you want to get to know me and like listen to my music,
I like the fact you've put yourself forward and you've asked these questions. And do you know what? Who knows what will happen if you keep on the same path and you're determined? There's nothing stopping you anyway. Do you know what I mean? I've had a lot of no's, and you know, coming from somewhere, a small town in Yorkshire, you know, people would never have thought I'd have done what I'm doing now. Do you know what I mean? And look what's happened. I mean, half of the hub are moving up to Wakefield. I feel like I've witchcrafted it. But anyway, songwriting, it depends on you know, you have to collaborate. And I work quite a lot in America, in Nashville, and it's not all about country music in Nashville. A lot of the industry have actually moved over there. It's amazing.
I love it. I go there quite often.
Yeah, we should go. It's a mad town, and everybody's writing. And someone once said to me, there was like, Emma, you just got to write 100 songs, 100 terrible songs, and then you'll find a hit. So you just got to keep going. Do you know what I mean? Like, we might have hundreds of shit songs that you've done, but one day something magical happen. But you've got to collaborate. You've got to work with other people. I'm not saying that you have to. You might just like to work on your own, but it's always more inspiring to work with other people as well. And when we were saying, you know, don't compare yourself, but always feel inspired by others, right? Don't have a negative approach about it. Look at it in a positive way of, you know, I want to do that, and I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it my way. And stick to your vision, you know, don't go off piece. But you don't have to, if you're an artist, you sometimes like, come on, Whitney Houston didn't write all her songs, you know. If you're a star, like, you can't be a master of all these trades. Do you know what I mean? You try and be a master of one first, and then, you know, it might all come together.
I feel like the pressure comes from, like, with my music, I wanted it to be like an outlet for me, but then also something someone else can relate to and like feel my song. And I feel like because I've got that in the back of my head every time I write a song.
Don't overthink. Just let it happen.
I feel like that's what's letting me down.
Do it organically. Feel like it's all about environment and the way you're thinking. And if you're thinking too much about what you want it to be, it'll never be what you want it to be. It'll, you know, you got to let these things, you know. You can, you know, orchestrate it and really be precise about how you're doing your top line and, you know, your melodies and your chorus, your middle eight and all that stuff. You can have a structure, but you never know what's going to happen when you go in that room. So just keep doing it.
I've been making music for a while now, so I've been like finding it hard to like get it out because I've been too like scared to put it out because I don't know like how people gonna react to it or anything like that. So I don't like, because I've also want to do more performing like outside of college as well, because I do a lot of drumming, so I want to be able to get all my music out there and able to perform as well. So I don't know what kind of advice you can give me to able to do that as well.
You gotta start. You gotta take that jump and just start. Even if it's like uploading it and then turning your phone the other way and then just not looking at it for the rest of the day, like it's out. Do you get what I mean? Like, yeah. It's like you've got to kind of learn how to have tunnel vision with it and not worry about whatever anyone else says, you know, even if it's like uploading a clip and then turn off all your comments or wherever you do it so you don't have to see anything, but you know it's out. If it's just like just putting it out on the DSPs and just, you know, sharing it with your friends or sending in a message in a family group chat, just put it out is the first step, you know, and then we can talk about it from there. But you just have to try and like just get it out so people can at least hear it, or you can send it out, or you can share that link to people and you can send it to people like us or anyone that you know, but we need to be able to know that it exists. It can't just stay on your phone or wherever it lives, because we'll never know, you know?
And you will never know as well. You need your research. You need to you need that feedback to know how to improve or how to change or anything and how to grow. So she's completely right. Just take a jump. But you can always ask for feedback before you press that button. Do you know what I mean? You can think of it like The Apprentice when they go out and do the market research. Do you know what I mean? Go and find a bunch of strangers and find out. Do you know what I mean? Or contact people like us and get some A&R feedback before you press that button. But you know, it needs to be out there in the worldwide web of the DSPs and all that. Just take a risk.
Yeah, I'll definitely hit you guys up.
Thank you. We've got about 5 minutes left. Last call. Any more questions? Oh, one here.
Ooh, and there's another one at the front as well.
Hi, so, oh Jesus. So do you have any advice on, like, helping with creative block or anything like that? It's like struggling to come up with ideas when you're normally decent with, like, coming up with ideas.
Creative block, you said?
Yeah.
So a lot of advice I give my clients is that you got to live to create. So what are you doing? So like it could just be like leave your house and go for a walk. Look at the people that are around you that are walking and like tell a story in your head about what you think their day is like. You know, create a story for yourself, whether it's for you, whether it's about a random person that you see. For some of the most established ones, I'm like, okay, cool, you've been working in the studio and nothing's getting done. Like, take that flight, get on that plane, go somewhere else. Want to go to Aruba? Go to Aruba, leave me alone for 2 months. Absolutely great. Like, be inspired, because I think that creative block comes from when you're not feeling inspired, so you have to live or create a story, a scenario to be able to unlock that block that you're kind of experiencing. But I would just say that, like, the little things, like I would say, start with a walk, you know, change where you're writing, change where you're working. Is it you working from a certain studio? You like book yourself into a new one. Do you work well at home? If you don't, like go to your friends, or, you know, when it's a lot nicer weather, sit in the park and write and be inspired, or however, whatever you're doing. Just change the scenery and scenario that you're feeling that you're suffering from that block with.
Yeah, just take a break. Give yourself a break, you know. You don't put yourself under too much pressure. When you put this pressure on, it won't come. You know, walk out of the room and do exactly what she's just said. Have a cup of tea, you know. You never know what comes from brew. But you've got to give yourself a break in this game.
Cool. Question near the front, was it? Is it this side?
You had the question? Back in, like, in the 80s and stuff like that, you tended to find that like artists would like to have their genre they started with and like stick with that. Whereas like when you come to the modern day, you're finding artists are like experimenting more with different genres and creating like lots of different sounds and putting it in one album, like Youngblood, for example. Would you say it's a good thing as a young artist to try and like experiment and put like different genres in your music and different songs?
Yeah, have fun with it. Create, like, whatever inspires you. You might do punk rock the next day, and then you might do alternative the day after. You know, music can be meshed and changed, and no certain project has to all sound the same. You don't have to have that synergy. As we've spoken about, it's about a feeling. It's about how it makes you feel. It's how it makes your fans feel. I think it's just about what inspires you, is that you're not tied to a certain genre. You know, you don't have to start with that. I mean, obviously it's good if terms of like if you think you're amazing at one thing and you want to kind of work yourself into something else, there's a way to strategize that plan, but you don't have to stick to one thing, no.
No, I completely agree. And you've got to remember as well, we put things out differently these days. Like, we don't just put a CD out and this is so-and-so's rock album, or this is so-and-so's. We use things like Spotify, and sometimes what comes up on the playlist in front of you on the Spotify, and the songs that are, when you're doing it on your phone, that is, you don't always see the entire album coming up, and your playlist is you, so you've got to think of it as like, have a bit of fun and don't think too hard about it. I had an artist who got a really big cut on the program, and it was incredible. It was such a great song, and he sounded incredible on it, and he decided to set up a separate Spotify, which I respect, because he didn't feel like it fitted with his artist project. But then he was moaning that the artist project that he always had wasn't getting the monthly listeners and the fans and the people and the traction towards it. But then when he put the song out as this name that wasn't him, with the song that was cut, he got millions and millions of streams on it, and his artist project lost those fans, and it wasn't molded together. And I'm not saying that's the rule, because I think people like to have a certain aesthetic for their artistry and respect to that. But we are living in a bit of a numbers game sometimes. So I think just have fun, like she said, just play with it and don't think too hard. You can put anything out if you want to do it.
All right. I think that is a wrap. But thank you so much to you both. I mean, what a brilliant, brilliant panel talking for Industry Week. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Davina and Emma. Can we give them a hand? Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Amazing stuff. All right, if we gradually make our way out as safely as possible.